This video is sponsored by Accsoon. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, and I'm going to be straight up and real with you all. I have worked with Accsoon before, and they were kind enough to send over 2 new units over the past year that they just recently released, the Accsoon SeeMo Pro and the new slider, the Toprig s60. They also have an s40. This is a sponsored video. However, I'm going to give you my full, unfiltered, honest opinion about these 2 products as per usual. Wow, that just sounds weird coming out of my mouth. Let's first tackle the slider. Historically, I hate any and all sliders that I've used. I've used them on small commercials, little interviews here and there, this, that, and the other. I would prefer just use a Cine Dailies and be done with it. These smaller sliders have just not been useful. I'm sure there's some out there, and especially if you want to have time with it to really understand the system, sure, like by all means, do what you do. Me, I would prefer to have something, if I were to use a slider, as soon as I pull it out of the bag, put a battery on it and just use it. That's exactly what I would want. And this is what the Toprig actually provides. It's a very simple slider. It has a bunch of mounting points all around. It's really nice to see that the bottom portion has 3/8 and 1/4-20s in various spots, so you can attach it different ways, vertically or horizontally. That's really the only way you can do it. But what I really appreciate about the slider is that it has all the manual controls on the slider itself. You can use the app, but I would just prefer to do it on here, so I don't have to fiddle around with the app and connecting it and whatnot. The control system is very simple. You have your play and pause button. You have your loop once or loop continually, A and B points, on and off, and then you have your speed adjustment dial. There are some DC in, so you can run power to it, or you can run a 5-volt out to power a camera if you have a long enough cable. And there's a camera port. I'm guessing you could do remote triggering with it. I haven't explored that much with it, but there's that option. It uses a standard Sony NPF battery, and this does not drink a lot of juice at all. You can have a massive battery and have this running for hours. Now, what comes in the bag, it comes in this nice little pouch that you can pack it up. Really discreet and easy and simple. It's not hard case, but it's soft material and then you can carry around with it. Now, if you do set it up in such a way where you mount the center of the slider onto a tripod, they come with these support arms that you can clamp to your tripod, which comes in handy, especially if you have weight that's a little bit larger camera on either end once it gets to the end, so the camera won't droop. That's very handy as well. And a really nice touch with the slider, it actually has a manual pivot. So if you put your ball head on or tripod head on and you want to get a nice rotation or panning move, you can actually just simply unscrew the little knob here, and within the slider there's another knob, and then you can do your your pan left and right there, and it will just go make that little arc, and you got a nice little shot. Now, a slider like this is meant for like tabletops or being on a tripod. It doesn't have any real significant height adjustment. It's just little rubber knobs that you can place evenly. Outside of that, it's really just to put on a tripod or, again, like a table, like I said. Yeah, it's really easy. Like, there's really not much to say with it. It's so straightforward that I would have to be absolutely dumb to not know how to operate this thing. Now, I'm not going to lie, it did take me a second to understand how the A and B point works, but it's so straightforward. Yeah, it's just me. Basically, you hit your play button and then pause it to this position that you want it in, then hit the A, or hit the button to select your first A point, then hit play again, and then it will just move along, and then you can pause it again and then hit your B point and then let it play out, and then make sure if you want to loop once or loop continuously, you can press that button as well, and then literally there you have it, A and B points. Honestly, I wish I had this exact slider for the jobs I had last year when working with Delta. We had a lot of talking heads, and the director wanted a third camera angle that gave a little bit more dynamic to the image. We rented out 2 different sliders. The first time it was working okay, but then next you know, it wouldn't just connect to the app, so I had to actually push it manually. That was a nightmare. And then the second time we rented out a different slider, it came with way more setup than I expected, and we had well under an hour to get everything set up. So I didn't even bother setting it up, and again, I just did it manually. So this is so easy right out of the box that I could have picked it up, got it started, and then just ran with it. So, oh, and another thing I forgot to mention is that the smoothness of the slider is really, really good. As you saw, I had a pretty big rig with the the GFX back here on that slider with a larger tripod head, and it handled it like a dream. Especially here where you set your A and B points, you would think it would kind of halt or stutter into the move, but it slows down and it smooths it out almost like an easy in or easy out, and then it gets right back into move. So that's pretty special about the slider. So the SeeMo Pro was released last year in 2023, and this was something that I was very interested in because previously I had used the original SeeMo, which allowed you to basically use your phone or any Apple device as a monitor for your camera, especially if you need certain features that the camera doesn't have internally. And that device was okay. However, there's a lot of issues with it where, you can only use HDMI. It didn't charge your phone while you're using it, so you're just literally just draining your battery. So there's a lot of issues with it, but the idea and concept were there. Fast forward to now, and they released the SeeMo Pro. This has SDI in and out, an HDMI. It can be powered by a LiMo to DTAP cable or MPF battery, which I would actually prefer the DTAP because you can just run off a larger battery and it'll keep the weight down. It's a full metal chassis, has a lot of quarter 20s and different mounting points as well. This can go with your iPad with the cage that they have, or you can use it on your phone with the attachment from the original SeeMo. And yes, you can actually charge your phone while using the SeeMo Pro. Now, what's the actual practical use case for using a SeeMo Pro? Well, for me, I have this as a backup. Whenever I'm out on a shoot, whatever production is, I have this with me in my bag because anything can happen on set. Granted, if it's on bigger sets, you're going to have hopefully backups of monitors, mainly just monitors, that is. But if something were to go haywire, this is what I would throw on the camera just because if I need to see something, this will be the use case for it. Outside of that, the second case would be cameras that don't have specific tools, because there are actually a lot of different tools in the Accsoon app, that is, and they're quite useful. There's so many that I don't use them all. You can actually turn them on and off with the menu settings. But for instance, the Fujifilm X-H2S does not have any de-squeeze options for anamorphic modes, so you can preview it so you can actually get focus and whatnot. So in the app itself, it actually has a plethora of de-squeeze options. So that's definitely a nice use case for it. You can actually use the app as a recorder. Granted, it's only 1080p and it's not that high of a quality, but if you definitely need a backup, that's something to consider. And since I do make reviews on this channel, I use the screen recording option to record camera screens or menus and things like that, so I can show examples as you can kind of see here. So there's different use cases for content creators and professional work. And if you do choose to go this route, just know that the quality coming out of the monitor into the app is okay. It's a little pixelated. So I would just say using it just for monitoring. Now, the latency is very low since it is hard mounted to the camera. But if you're just trying to really get critical focus and you're trying to pull focus, you might struggle a little bit. There are some tools you can use for peaking or black and white contrast based stuff like that, or just use what the camera can offer funneling up to that monitor or your phone, that is. So there is that option, but it's not the greatest image. Hopefully that will improve over time. It would be actually nice to actually see this device get even smaller, still have the SDI ports and everything like that, but have a much higher quality output, so you can have a much more crystal clear viewing image on the phone or anything like that. The best way I think to actually use this device is using it with the iPads because they are larger screens. And so I would basically just use this in the studio setting. And if I didn't want to use like a large production monitor like my Cine 13, I can have a 12.9-inch iPad and have all the features I need in a large enough screen for like a director's monitor or viewing monitor for a client possibly. Now, obviously the limitations will be related to the phone. iPhones are notoriously known for auto dimming the brightness, especially out in bright light sky, to prevent overheating. So this is probably the best case to use it is in the studio setting, or a setting where you can have control over lighting and the brightness of the phone. So that's one of the downsides. But outside of that, if you need something in a pinch, this is the device to pick up. Another unique feature about this device is that you can use it as a live stream capture device. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to show you how to all do it because I don't actually do a lot of live streaming, but those who are really on the go, want to kind of post something quickly from their camera, you have the ability to do it. Now, the SeeMo is about $180 and the SeeMo Pro is about $350. So, you got to consider that to whether or not being an investment in your case. Me, I just like to have backups. I like to always have a plan, and this is going to be the best option outside of buying another monitor that's $1,500 or more. There are obviously monitors out there that are a lot cheaper, so there are options out there for you to consider, and this could be one of them. Well, I hope this was interesting enough, and if you guys check out the stuff, cool. If you don't, cool, that's fine as well. I'm definitely going to be using it, especially this slider moving forward. But stick around, there's a lot more content coming this way. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Why do I look like that?